All right, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about 6.3, solving by elimination. So now this is the third way to solve a system. So the first one we did is solving by graphing. The second one we did was solving by substitution. And now the third one we're going to be doing is solving by elimination. So just jumping straight in. Um, the very first thing we want to do when we solve by elimination is to make sure that um, our equations line up. So the x's with the x's, the y's with the y's, the equal sign with the equal sign, the numbers with the numbers. So we want to make sure that that's all lined up. The second one is we want to create opposites, and we'll talk about what that looks like when we get to the problems. The third one is once we have them, then we could add down and solve. And that'll get us one of the variables, x or y. And then once we get that answer, we could plug it back in, plug value back in, and solve for the other variable. Again, remember our final answer, we always want it to look like a coordinate point, x comma y, because we want to figure out where the two lines are intersecting one another. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at problem number 1 here. So step 1, making sure that our equations line up. So again, what we want to do is we want to kind of mirror and organize our equations ahead of time. So we have x's together, y's together, equal signs, and constants. Perfect. So that looks like that our step 1 is already done for us. A lot of times step 1's already done for us, but there are certain situations that it may not be that way. So you need to make sure that it is and rewrite your equation before you continue. Step 2, create opposites. So opposites, in other words, I want to cancel out one of the variables. I want either the x's or the y's to disappear. So notice the x's here. I have a 2x and a 6x. And if I add that together, that gives me an 8x. So those do not cancel. So that I may need to fix and change. But before we do that, let's check the y's. 5y and a negative 5y. Notice that a positive 5y minus 5y, that's going to cancel. It's going to give me 0y. So it looks like the y's do cancel. So my step 2, I don't actually have to create opposites because they already have existing opposites in the problem. Okay, so in this case, I can now go on step 3, which means I'm going to add down and solve. So the way I do it is I like to put my line and add down. So 2x plus 6x is an 8x. 5y minus 5y is 0. I could write 0y there, but I'm not going to. I always just cross off my equation like that. Equals 17 minus 9 is 8. So notice again, I'm staying very organized and working down. This is like the big secret to math is making sure that you stay organized. All right, so once I do that, divide by 8, x equals 1. Perfect. So there is my step 3. I solve for a variable. And remember now, to get that y value, I need to plug this back in. Again, it doesn't matter which equation I plug it back into, so plug it into which one you think is easiest. I think the first one's easiest because I don't like to work with negative numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this back into my first equation, 2x plus 5y equals 17. Notice I did my empty parentheses, and now I'm going to plug in x. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 5y equals 17. Okay, keep solving. Minus 2, 5y equals 15. Divide by 5, y equals 3. Remember, your final answer is always a coordinate point, which is going to be x comma y. So x comma y. And again, what's happening here? That's where the two lines are crossing each other. So if I graph both of these, I put both of these into y equals mx plus b, and I graphed it, or I plug these back into Desmos like we've been doing in class, that is the spot where the two lines are going to cross one another. All right, let's go on to the second problem. Okay, equations need to line up. Ooh, yx, xy, so those don't. So let's go ahead and fix this. So 3x plus 2y equals 1, 4x plus 3y equals -2. Okay, perfect. So I want to make sure that everything's lined up and is organized first. Okay, second, I have to have opposites. So let's see if I have opposites. In the previous problem, number 1, the y's, I had a 5y and a -5y. Here, 3x and a 4x, so those are not opposites, and a 2 and a 3, those are not opposites either. Okay, so I have to create opposites, which means I need to multiply and distribute a value to get opposites. Now, in this case, it doesn't matter which one you want to do. Do you want to cancel the x's or do you want to cancel the y's? It's completely up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to decide I'm going to cancel the x's. So I need these numbers to be the same. So what number can both 3 and 4 both go into? What's a common value that they both go into would be 12. Okay, so to make this spot a 12, I would have to multiply it by a 4. To make this spot a 12, I need to multiply by 3. But remember, I have to do more than just make the numbers the same. I also need to make them opposites. So I need to multiply one of these by a negative. I don't want both of them to be positive or both of them to be negative. Just like in the previous problem, I need one of them positive, one of them negative. So in this case, I'm going to multiply this one by a -4. So -4 times 3x is a -12x. -4 times a 2y is a -8y equals -4 times 1 is a -4. Second equation, 3 times 4x is 12x. 3 times 3y is a positive 9y equals 3 times -2 is a -6. Perfect. And always kind of double check to make sure that you distributed. A common mistake here is forgetting to multiply the right side by the number also, so making sure that you have those values in there. If I wanted to cancel the y's, notice a 2 and a 3 both goes into 6. So I could have multiplied this by a -3 and a +2 if I wanted to cancel the y's instead. Okay, so let's check our step 1 and step 2 again. So everything looks lined up. I do have opposites. So it looks like I am ready to eliminate. All right, -12x and a +12x cancels. -8y and a 9y is a 1y. -4 and a -6 gives me a -10. Cool, so that ended up working out really nicely for us. Y equals -10. Now I'm going to plug this back in. So I'm going to go ahead and always plug it back into one of the original equations, whichever one I think is easiest. I think the first one looks a little bit easier just because it has smaller numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this back in. So 2 times y plus 3x equals 1. So let's plug the y in and solve. -20 plus 3x equals 1. Add 20. 3x equals 21. Divide by 3. X equals 7. So our final answer is x comma y. And in this case, remember that this is where the two lines cross, and that is elimination method.